Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody find a seat, we'll get started. I really appreciate everybody being here. The roads are bad. We might all think about having this thing in July. Every year it seems like we got snow and ice.
Hey, this year it may snow in July.
Yeah, that's true. But we do welcome you to the 2013 Driver of the Year meeting. We've got a good crowd considering the weather. And, as you go out the door, the restrooms are down that ramp to the right. And there's smoking, you can't smoke in the building, you have to go outside. Back when I smoked, it didn't get too cold to go smoke. But we'll have a break later, and then you go out and smoke if you want to.
You started smoking, they only had cameras.
Show Gene where to smoke.
He said something like that. He said cameras.
All right, first up on the agenda is Nelson Furman.
He paid me $20 to do
When
this.
Richard started smoking, he had to roll his own. Good morning, all of you. I just want to clear up a few myths we have. New trucks we got coming. Some of you got a lot of the 579s, but we're changing to a 13 speed on this next group and probably a couple more. And everybody's concerned about, we're switching to a single axle or lightweight, and it has a tag axle on the back. It's called a 6x2. And everyone's scared they're going to get stuck. Well, you get stuck now once you got two axles that pull. This thing here allows you to save 420 pounds of weight, which is huge today because the trucks are so much heavier. But you're still going to get stuck with this. I don't want to give you any false intention, but we've installed a power divider lock and switch that makes that front axle positive traction, both wheels turn. And your old truck, if the back wheel gets off the ground, you're stuck. If you lock your power divider in and the front wheel gets off the ground, you're stuck. So both of those will pull at the same time. The second thing we added is a valve that would automatically dump all the air off the trailer, off the tandems, and put all the weight to push the tag axle, put the axle down on the ground so you can come out of a hole. The third thing, you can do it manually or we'll do it by itself. If you're going up a grade and it feels the wheel slipping, it will lower the suspension where the tires will get a better grip on the road and you won't get stuck. I talked to the maintenance director at Mesa Valley Transportation, said they've been running for 3 or 4 years. But this is nothing new. Again, when Richard and I and Mike Reeves were younger, these things were very popular. It was called tag axle. Again, this is 6x the other day. But I'm not saying you're not going to get stuck, but if you have a better chance than you do today with the two differentials, and we're saving so much weight, and saving about $1,000, $1,100 to buy another drive line in the very end. But it's going to work out pretty good. The new ones that have this, they have 13 speeds. A lot of you have been passing on these new trucks to get those, but they should be here the first week in February. If all works out good.
First week? That's
Not February, March. But they're coming in. But you'll see more and more of these. It saves a lot of weight. And they all say 2 or 3% fuel mileage, but I got my doubts about that. The only other thing
What do you mean you have your doubts?
Look, when a salesman, no offense, Don. When a salesman's selling something, everything's 2 or 3% on fuel. They don't care if it's a wiper blade. They come in there, they got these special wiper blades, winter blades, and it knocks air off the windshield, and they all save fuel. Tim went to a maintenance meeting a while back. He came back with a bag full of brochures. He figured out he had to spend about $10,000 and save a couple gallons of fuel. So that's when I got my doubts about that. But it should help. Weight, speed, and a good driver, which all of you are, makes a big difference. We can't buy enough stuff to put on a truck for this difference you guys can make in your island and things like that. But the only other thing we've done, I know the ones that's got it, we put a switch to disconnect a Rand McNally for you guys on the dash when you have a problem with it. And I know the ones that got it, but we're going to install them on all the trucks and try to work our way back where you don't have to, hunt the fuse and all this stuff to kill the power on and make it come up. But other than that, they will be showing up soon. And I know some of you in here are waiting for them. I see some are still driving old trucks. But any questions about that tandem or anything? You're gonna get stuck, but you get stuck now, you're gonna save a lot of weight and save some money. We got you.
The one we got now just has like the back wheel turning or what?
You got two differentials. On that back one, you got another chain. When you get stuck, you lock in this front axle in, a wheel on this front axle. If the other wheel's off the ground, you're still stuck. But this new truck will have both those front wheels will pull at the same time. And it'll have a device that will let the air out from the tandem to push the wheel to the ground. And you get stuck. But they'll be pretty nice. You'll like it. Anything else? Anybody got any questions about them? They're going to look funny. You're going to get a lot of questions when you get in and get to asking them. A lot of folks are not running, but we're going to try them out. I think we'll be good with it.
You start this meeting awfully negative, talk about getting stuck, not getting the fuel mileage.
I like to get stuck. Hey,
They're gonna look funny. We need to get him on stage.
They all know I tell the truth, but I like to get stuck getting here, so it'll work. All right, I appreciate it. Good luck to all of y'all.
Back when I was driving, which was a long time ago, and I've driven everything from Browning's transmissions on up, and 13-speed was my favorite transmission. And probably anybody that drove back in those days, it was their favorite. Next up, sales, Don Stroud and Mike Reeves.
They didn't pay me $20.
Richard almost told a complete story. I understand that when he started driving, he was delivering freight in Dumas, Arkansas. In DeWitt, Arkansas, to Mule and the ground slab. Then he started with those trucks. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I don't want to embarrass him, but Don Stroud, I've been in this business a long, long time, and I've had the privilege of working with a lot of good salespeople. I mean, a lot of good ones. Don Stroud is by far the best vice president of sales I've ever had the privilege of working with in my life. And let me tell you what makes him that way. Two things. One is he understands operations, he knows our drivers, and he understands drivers and understands your needs. He doesn't just go into a customer and just try to get the freight, not understanding anything but moving it from point A to point B and overselling it. He always tells the customers the truth. He never oversells. If he does anything, he'll lean a little bit toward underselling our service because he knows what you can provide as a professional driver. Knowing our drivers, knowing our operations, and not overselling our service is invaluable. And if he tells a customer something, they know they can depend on it. He won't exaggerate anything. He could sell Nelson something. So it's Don Stroud.
Thank you for the kind words. I really enjoy what I do, and they squeeze me in the important stuff. So I'll only be a few minutes, but a couple of things. When I was doing the research to find out exactly where we were in the industry so we could talk about it today, I ran across a few trivia things. So first of all, the first thing I learned was that the average truck driver spends about 1/2 cent a mile on coffee each year. I thought that was insane, that there's that much coffee, and I know that y'all are out there all the time. The second thing, does anybody know what the longest interstate in the country is? Longest single interstate is?
440.
No.
10.
No.
80.
No.
95.
No. No. Somebody will hit it. I-90, Seattle to Boston, 3,100 miles, is the longest interstate, according to the thing that I read. And I went on PC Miler and actually looked at a few to try to see if I could find one longer. 95's shorter, 55's shorter. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Does anybody know why a Mack truck uses the Bulldog?
Was somebody's pet got kicked out the house?
No. In 1916, here's the Mack 1916, and the guys that came back from World War I looked at it and said, that thing looks like an English Bulldog. So Mack embraced it, and the Bulldog became their symbol.
Terry, do you remember
Now-
those?
Richard can tell you what kind of transmission this thing has.
Like you did.
None of this is going to help y'all's paycheck.
You know,
But-
this guy in Chicago, I believe Chicago, where they make that Bulldog emblem, and his job, his single job, and he's been doing it for 50 years, is to polish that Bulldog.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. This is a lot of graphs. I've used this before. Y'all probably saw it last year when Mike did it. This is everything about our industry is about capacity. Y'all know this, capacity and balance. And when it comes to sales, and you know, sales has a lot to do with rates and pricing and all of that. If you look at this, this shows where the trucking capacity was for the last, since 2007. And you can see how it goes up and down, but there were a few good years. This is the exact same slide with all the bottom cut out, and it just shows the peaks, 2008, 2010, and 2011. Those 3 years when demand exceeded capacity, those are the best years we ever had for rates. Those years are the following years. And that's when, you know, we're able to increase our rates. That's when we're able to, you know, get everything back where it needs to be from a driver pay standpoint, and Tim will talk about that a little bit later. I just wanted to share that with you because these are important years. And if you go back, you know, if you look at these last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that. The light blue one is last year, and 2012 is the light gray one. It's right there in the middle, so we can't do a lot from an industry. This isn't Empire Express necessarily, but we kind of follow the industry. So industry rates increased in 2013 by just about 0.5%. A couple of different, the Cass truckload index increased by about 1.5%. So over the course of the year, we only had about half of 1% to 1.5% increase in rates. Now we did, from a driver standpoint, we added, or from a sales standpoint, we added 7 new customers and increased our revenue slightly. Most of that was given to the drivers. As a matter of fact, and like I said, Tim will talk about the rate, the driver pay, but we gave the driver pay, Tim Gatlin did, Tim and Ed Gatlin, gave the driver pay a higher percentage of the revenue that we got than we actually got in rate increases. So, you know, that's a testament to how much we really need drivers, how much they really appreciate what everybody does from a driver standpoint. Well, what's the impact of not having drivers? We used this slide last year because we need drivers, and we're really after anybody that can go out there. If you see a good driver out on the road, we really need those drivers. It's very difficult for us to sell new business when we don't have enough drivers. Y'all have longer wait times between loads. You know that. Why? Because if we have more drivers, I'm able to go out to a customer and secure business. We don't haul the general commodity, a bunch of, you know, I mean, in between. Our core base of customers are just-in-time freight, ultra safety sensitive. And we're able to go out and secure committed freight for the company. If we have more drivers, I'm able to do that. When we do that, it increases our network density to a point that it, you know, shortens the length of deadhead in between loads. It shortens you aren't burning as many hours in between loads. We have more drivers and more customers, and it's much easier to sell. It's hard to commit to large chunks of business when we're in a driver shortage situation. So that's why, from a sales standpoint, I really encourage each one of you, when you're out there, look for these good quality drivers that you see that have hazmats that you can, you know, talk to, convince to get on board. Because the more, they aren't taken away from you, they're adding to the company, which will ultimately help everybody.
What is the retention strategy of retaining the drivers for 10 to 15 year drivers that used to be here?
Well,
20 years.
That is that's probably a Diana question more for operations than it is. I mean, and we do that. We have
Rather
a,
than a go get new drivers.
It would really be, take the whole meeting, honestly. I mean, we
Yeah.
meet every Thursday about that. We have our recruiting retention meeting, and we go through, and I mean, obviously, you nailed it. The number one thing we want to do is retain our good drivers. We want to attract and retain good drivers. And we have, we do everything we can as far as equipment, as far as miles, pay, trying to promote the family atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot goes into it. Just doing everything we can to support y'all. We listen to a 5-minute tape every week, every employee, non-driver, from this industry expert on how we can better treat, support our drivers. And it's a people business, and we think we have an advantage over a lot of the big boys in the industry, but I mean, bottom line, you nailed it. We would rather retain and then, and we have our turnovers lower than the industry, a lot lower, but I'm with you.
and to that,
ideas, we're all ears.
and to that point, even if we retain everybody and don't lose a single driver, we still need to add drivers. That's so that we can increase our customer base, so that we can have more customers closer together, and it makes everything smooth. We talk about the velocity of the freight a lot in meetings, being able to get a load off, go to the next customer, get a load on, and keep rolling. And that's what we want to, that's our ultimate goal.
What about the plumb lazy drivers, just don't want to work?
The lazy driver?
Yeah, the ones that just don't want to work, rather sit at home and instead of having to
Well,
work.
those are the homeless guys that just want an RV. They don't want a truck driving job.
We don't have any of those, do we?
My quick answer to that,
I know one.
don't talk about yourself like
Don't
that.
start calling names.
I can't speak to that either. I mean, but
I mean,
if
I'll
any,
tell you what, we think we've got the perfect pay package for that, to answer that. I mean, I hate to say it, the lazy drivers are gonna be getting bottom pay.
Yeah,
And,
that's it.
and then they're generally not gonna stay with us a long time. So that's kind of our strategy on that. And well, anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
You done?
yeah, anybody, if somebody else has a sales question. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Okay. That's not right.
Let's start breaking.
Evan, were you bad last night?
Next up's operations, Mike and Diane.
She's slow, but she did some age on her. Everybody in this company, and half the people in this know Diana Craddock. She's been with Empire Express. March will be 24 years. 24 years.
She was in diapers when she started.
Yeah.
Put a picture on the wall.
Came to work in a stroller. But she has done every job that there is in operations. She was customer service for a long, long time. And prior to her becoming vice president of operations, she, for all practical purposes, did that job for a year and a half before she was given the title and the job and the promotion, and did a tremendous job of it. We don't have to worry about service. We don't have to worry about a lot of things that other companies do because of her expertise, her heart, and her character. And every driver in this company and every customer that we have know that she cares about you personally and about that customer personally. So Diana Craddock, Vice President of Operations.
Good morning.
I like the fact that they put me right behind Don because I couldn't have planned it any better just to tag on part of what Don does. As he's visiting new customers or existing customers, he's out promoting and selling one thing. One thing. Who knows what that is?
Great.
Service. Service. Who provides that? Who provides the only thing that Don can sell? You do. That's how vitally important you are to us. You are the ones that make the difference. You are the ones that have, over the course of our history, enabled us to continue to look for the best freight that we can use and put on you guys. So you guys are responsible for that. So thank you. You are the only thing in the entire company that produces any revenue. The rest of us are in a support role for you. I don't remember how to work this thing.
Pull but pull it forward.
Are you plugging in the wall?
There we go, I'm a little behind. So you are the only ones that can provide the service. That is you. So thank you for everything that you do out on the road while we're in there trying to make it better for you. I was asked to just kind of give you an update on where we are operationally, but in order for me to tell you where we are today, I got to take you back a little bit to what we experienced in 2013. 2013 by far was the most challenging year that I remember in our industry. 2013 held many challenges as we were rolling into 2013. We continue to implement electronic logs. We started really probably mid or towards the end of 2012, finished up mid 2013, but at the beginning of 2013 we continued to roll them out. And this hurt our utilization for a couple of reasons. We felt like it negatively impacted us because we had such a long tenure of driver base that many of our drivers didn't understand electronic logs. But not just that, neither did our operations personnel. We had to do a lot of internal training to get our operations personnel up to speed on what it meant for utilization to a driver for his 11, 14, and 70 hours. We also had ever-changing and restricting hours of service regulations. That's not going to change. Those are going to, federal government will continue to tweak or change regulations probably as long as trucking exists. But this year, we had the changes on the 11-hour rule, the 30-minute break, these things that still impacted you, that we still had to continue training internally, not just our operations people, but again, we had to train our drivers on what this meant for them. So it was a continual training process to understand the impact on service and your utilization. So how did we combat this? Did I mention that we trained? We did a lot of training. We took our people out of their normal functions and normal roles to put them into a training environment to learn the impact of what the electronic logs were, to learn to read the electronic logs, to know how to plan to do better. Our planners probably went through the most difficult change, just not being able to take a driver's word for what he had, because now we had visibility to exactly what was needed, and we began to plan by that. We also had to teach our long-term and newer drivers how to manage their time. What did that mean for the driver? That meant, when do you start your clock? Do you cover your deadhead on the front end or the back end? How will you be able to do this and still manage your time effectively in order to get the most use out of it? So that was a continual training, and we're still doing that today, especially with the new drivers. We help them to understand how it is better to either wait before they start their clock and cover their deadhead as it draws closer to the load being ready, or to cover it and take a full break and to roll out with fresh hours. So we're continuing our training with our drivers and our operations personnel. Because there were so many factors that affected our planners and our fleet managers, the Gatlins invested in Manhattan, drop and swap and driver load. This assisted our planners in being able to better utilize you to plan you quicker, to hopefully eliminate some of the excess time waiting for loads, and also to eliminate some of the excess time that you had under load. So we began to try to chop that time down to better utilize your time. So this takes us into where we are today. And I can tell you today, I feel like we've overcome a large part of the challenges that we incurred in 2013. We did it together. We did it with your help. Hopefully you feel like we've assisted you to better manage your time, which will positively impact the company as a whole. So now we still need your help. Okay, here's ways that you can positively continue to impact your miles and your utilization. Make yourself available for a load of freight. Set your PTA. Okay, set your PTA. Now, I'm not going to stand here any longer and tell you that you won't get a plan without a PTA. But what I will tell you is without a PTA, you're going to get whatever's left at the end of the day, or maybe a load tomorrow. So it will negatively impact your miles without a valid PTA. You will get messages, and probably do, from your planner a time or two a week asking you to reset your PTA. The reason they're asking you to do that is because the PTA that you previously sent in has expired, and it's of no use to the planner any longer. With an expired PTA, you're not available for a load of freight, they have a real hard time planning you. Okay, so make sure your PTA is valid. Don't take excessive time off. Now this means in the form of your PTA, right? I want you to take your DOT 10-hour break, and I want you to put yourself available to work. Don't take a 14-hour break, don't take an 18-hour break, a 20-hour break. If you're doing 34, complete that. But take your 10 and be ready to roll. If you don't, this will negatively impact your miles. Okay, don't take excessive time off at home. I want you to be home. I want you to spend time with your family. But know that when it's time to come out, we expect you to check in at that time and be ready to roll. Another way that you can positively impact your miles and your utilization is to know where you are on your 70 hours, know where you are on your 14, and then plan for that. When you receive a load assignment across your mobile comm unit, review that load assignment, look at the pickup time, look at the delivery time, and know how many hours you've got and what's expected to get there. I'm not talking about the exceptions, I'm talking about the generalities. Don't tell us that you can do a load when you can't do a load, only to call us in the middle of the night and say, oh, I miscalculated my time, I don't have any hours left. Don't send in a load confirmation unless you're sure that you can do that load when you're marking it, yes, you can pick up on time, and yes, you can deliver on time. That will negatively impact your miles. You'll cause, when you send in a load confirmation indicating, yes, you can pick up on time, yes, you can deliver on time, you're communicating to your fleet manager and to the planner that you've reviewed the load in its entirety, you've got the hours to perform it, and you will pick up and deliver on time. That's the only way that we can continue to hold our service up and to continue to get the good freight that we get, right, by picking up and delivering on time. Again, you deliver the only thing that we can sell. Lastly, you guys, I know get tired of hearing this, but in our small office, we get over 500 calls a day from drivers. And we're consistently running 170 drivers, I would think, but 500 calls a day is a little much. Then we get phone calls from other departments saying a driver's trying to call and can't reach anybody. Well, guess what? Each person only has 2 lines, and they're busy talking to someone else that does not have an emergency. So when you are not in motion, please use your mobile comm and give us ample time to respond. It really is quicker. It's not an oxymoron. You will get a quicker response by using mobile comm. One of the latest things that we are beginning to implement, I'll be applying for a patent on it, is this. Watch this. Real quick, if you are in need of speaking with someone and cannot reach a live person, please use the Watts line, and instead of dialing your fleet manager's direct extension, if you dial option 1, it will get you to the first available person, and you'll just continue to ring around until a live person answers. Now again, only use that if it's an emergency, if it's something that you require an answer to right away, that cannot wait until you stop to send a message. Option 1 will get you a live person. You don't have to call Regina or Richard or someone else to say, can you walk downstairs and get me a live person? This will get you a live person, option 1.
This is there's no, I can't stop this phone from ringing. Empire, this is Travis. Can you hold just a second?
What can I do about it? Dennis, this is so we can communicate better.
Empire, this is Travis. Yes, Travis. Dennis, look, I'm going to have to ask you to use the mobile car, okay? Please. All right, thank you. Empire, this is Travis. Yes, Travis. Dennis, use the mobile car. Yes, Travis. Look, Dennis, I'm going to tell you again. Use the mobile car. Now, choose the floor. What is this thing? What is this? No.
Why did I hear that?
Any questions for operations?
Y'all get the message? We're gonna give away a little money right here.
How much money we got to give away today?
We got 150s and 20s.
You want to start off with 100?
Yeah.
No, let's start with 50.
All right.
Start with a little bit.
$100. I can't open this thing up. There we go. Number 2. All right, we'll change it to 20.
Okay, it'll be okay too. I'm not here That's when Dennis got paid for the video.
All right, next up is Mike Reeves on a Canadian update. Mike?
Don't go.
I'm gonna ask Scott Haynes to come over here, if he will. Most of y'all know Scott. Scott's our traffic manager. And he also, we joke about it being an international manager, but he is. He takes care of the paperwork. Don and I are his backups. He does your ACE manifest. He does all your paperwork and clears customs for those Canadian loads that you handle. So the ones of you that go to Canada that have your passport, very familiar with Scott. So what I'm going to do is a little presentation. Scott's kind of the Vanna White of can you show him your wave you've been working on? He's worked on that for several days now. But here's what happens. We want to encourage you, if you will, get your passport. Get your passport, become Canadian qualifier. All you need is a passport. We'll take everything from there. You don't have to send any paperwork in to customs. You don't have to do anything. What happens is You get your passport, we put you in the system. We got an ACE manifest, we're CTPAT certified. Your tractor, your VIN number, your tag, same with the trailers, your driver's license, CDL number, everything is in the system already. We take care of all of that. Get your passport, give it to Louise, she makes a copy of it, she brings us a copy of it, Scott enters it, we go from there. So we've been going to Canada now for about 2.5 years. We waited until we had all of our certifications so that it would be a simple process at the border for you. But we're CTPAT certified, Custom Trade Partnership Against Terrorism certified. We're also participating in the FAST, the Free and Secure Trade Program. We utilize this ACE manifest, Automated Commercial Environment, PAPs and PARs. Now the PAPs, they're phasing them out. Now the Canadian customs people are following the United States example, and they've got a Canadian equivalent to ACE manifest themselves. We're one of the few companies that they asked to participate in both. So thanks to Scott's understanding of it, he understood it, frankly, better than the Canadian government that held the webinars on it. And he uses it and been using it for how long?
About 8 months.
About eight months. And it hasn't even become mandatory yet. So it's second nature to us. They did an audit. We didn't even know they were doing one. They did an audit, sent us an attaboy letter from the U.S. Customs and the Canadian Customs of our U.S. and Canadian ACE manifest program we were handling it so well and so ever free. So here's what happens. You pick up a load of freight, go into Canada. If it's in Memphis, you come to the office, you give Scott a copy of the paperwork. If it's not in Memphis, it's not coming through Memphis, you fax in, and we say fax in every scrap of paper they give you. If they give you the girlfriend's number on a piece of paper, fax that in. Fax everything they give you in. It'll be a bill of lading and a Canadian Customs invoice. And you'll have some PAR sticker to put on there, a little barcode. Fax them in. Scott will take those. He will do everything that's needed to get them through customs cleared way before you even get to the border. He will print you out an ACE manifest. It's one sheet of paper with a barcode on it. That's your ticket back into the United States. You'll be pre-cleared to come back into the States before you even leave the United States. 8 out of 10 of our shipments that we take to Canada, we come back in. 2 out of 10, we'll have a back haul for Sherwin-Williams or somebody, and we'll pick it up right there close to where you are. You're not going to stay in Canada waiting on a load, not 1 minute. You come back home. So what happens is, he does all the paperwork. You get to the border, you've got the paperwork. They scan the barcode, welcome to Canada. You go in, you come back, scan your ACE manifest, welcome home. As simple as that. The shortest length of haul on Canadian loads running about 900 miles one way, up to about 2,500 miles per load one way. So it's some real good miles for you. The Canadian people are real nice when you go up there. We've had no complaints. Everybody compliments how friendly they are. And it's a good way for you to make some good miles and some good money. So again, we encourage you, we're going to take care of everything for you. You get $100 to cross the border in addition to the miles, and it's a good way to do it. Any questions about the Canadian? Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
Are they all cyanide loads?
No. That's a good question, though. The question was, are they all cyanide loads? No. We haul a good bit of them, but we've got several other customers that we haul other commodities for also.
So
yes.
It benefit me to get this passport?
Sir?
It benefit me to be worth the effort to get the passport?
Yeah, but now both of y'all would have to have your passport in court.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, next up is benefits.
Before we talk about this, we might want to get some money out. Why don't we give, we're gonna be cheap on this. We're gonna do 320s.
You in Mississippi, that's not cheap.
Well, we're saving money. 36.
That'd be me.
Yay!
Nobody got 36? Nobody wants the 20? Well, we'll use that one. 77. All right. Last but not least, number 54. All right, Eric.
We're going to talk about benefits. I want to thank Georgia for all the hard work she's done getting the cards out and putting all this together. So, where's Jay? There he is. Come on over here.
Tim, before we get started, would you like to mention anything about the process for this year's renewal? It's been as challenging as we've had in the last 10 or 12 years.
Yes, it has been challenging. I mean, a lot of factors went into it. The Obamacare obviously was huge. We had a couple of pretty serious illnesses. And quite frankly, Blue Cross was really proud of their coverage, and it just was not feasible to stay with them. And Jay, working with HCS, found a great solution, a good solution. I mean, it's a great solution, but it's still painful, quite frankly. And they went to the whole world, the market, and we think we've come up with the best possible solution for Empire, and we think, you know, long term, it's the best play. We're going to take a hit this year. It's going to be real expensive, but we have better opportunity to manage claims and hopefully control claims better and keep it down. Because in today's world, at the end of the day, we're going to pay for our claims over a long-term period. So if we can, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but if we can manage our health better and reduce our claims, that will be a big thing. And hopefully, long-term, we can do that.
Yeah. Did everybody get this packet of information that went out about a month ago? Did everybody read the letter from Tim? I hope that everybody did. We initially were faced with about a $660,000 a year increase. I don't know if that's a lot of money to most people, but it's a significant amount to me, and I would assume it is for everybody else too. Like Tim said, we went to the market. We do feel like that we did find the best plan at the best price for everybody. There are a lot of changes. If you read the letter, HCS, Health Cost Solutions, will be administering the plan going forward. If you don't have an ID card, I've got one here in my pocket. Georgia's got several up top. If you need more, let us know, we can get them. But what I really wanted to do was go through just a few things about the plan, the eligibility. We did make some changes to that this year, so on and so forth. All employees are eligible for the plan, as well as their dependents. We have this question asked a lot. Dependents are those under age 26. There's no full-time student requirement, anything like that. The one big change that we did make this year, if your spouse has coverage through their employer, they are no longer eligible for the plan. So if Tim's spouse works, she has coverage available through her job, she needs to take coverage through her employer. If she does not work, then she's eligible to be on the plan. Let's flip to the next slide.
And by the way, Orman's not here because highway was shut down, right?
Highway was shut down, yeah. We do have 3 plans for this year. We do have a new plan, option 1. The current base plan that we have is option 2, and then the buy plan is option 3. The plan for option 1, you go into a physician office, you simply pay a $50 copay, and that's limited to 2 office visits per calendar year. We're going to touch a little bit about the 1-800-MD copay just here at the end, but it is a $10 copay for it. You do have a $5,000 deductible or that option one, hospitalization, outpatient surgery. Once you meet that deductible, the plan pays 80% after that. Preventative care, this is your annual physical, your annual well woman, child immunizations. I encourage everybody to do that once a year. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. Now, if Tim goes in for his annual checkup and his knee hurts, he may end up paying a copay, but go in for your annual physical once a year, make sure everything's okay. You don't know what you can catch. It's very, very early, a health condition that becomes something serious or significant later on. Your emergency room, again, it's subject to your deductible. Your out-of-pocket maximum, this is the worst case that you would pay in any given year, is $6,350 for an individual and $12,700 for a family. And your prescription drugs, generic, you simply pay a $10 copay, and then again, the preferred and non-preferred brand drugs pay after the deductible has been met. One thing to remember, it's 2014. You are required by law to have coverage. If not, you will pay a fine on your income tax next year. So that's one thing to remember. Option 2 is very similar to our current base, or to the base plan that we had. Your physician office visit subject to your deductible. We do have the 1-800-MD copay with this plan as well. Your deductible is $1,500. You can say again, hospitalization and outpatient surgery pays 80% after your deductible. Again, this plan covers your preventative care at 100%. It's free, it's no cost to you. Emergency room, again, pays 80% after the deductible. You can see the out-of-pocket max, that's your worst case scenario, is $6,350 for an individual, $12,700 for the family. And you can see your prescription drugs. Generic, you simply pay a $10 copay, and then preferred or non-preferred brand drugs, you pay 50%. So if you got a drug that costs $100, you pay $50, the plan pays $50. The buy plan in Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, but most people are on this plan, am I correct? This plan did not change much. If you go into the doctor, you simply pay a $35 copay. The 1-800-MD, again, with this plan is a $10 copay. You have a $1,500 deductible, and like the other plans, hospitalization and outpatient surgery pay 80% after that deductible is met. Preventative care, again, pays 100%. The emergency room, you simply pay a $250 copay, then 80%. There is no deductible. The out-of-pocket maximum is $6,350, $12,700 for a family, and then your prescription drugs are simply a $10, $35, or $50 copay. Any questions about the plans? I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have about the plans. George, you're getting all the questions one day.
I want to clarify, because I've heard this, but you have unlimited coverage for any illness.
That's correct. That's correct. So if you went in and you had $10 million of claims, I mean, they can't cap you and say, hey, we're not covering you.
See, the Mini-Med had some caps.
That's right.
So we actually are, I think it's good that we got away from Mini-Med.
Yeah.
This is much better insurance, let's put it like that.
Yeah, we now have for those drivers that were here less than a year, you had the Pan American Mini-Med, that's now gone. We replaced that with the Empire Express medical plan that's administered through HCS. You have 3 options. I think all in all, it's going to be a much, much better plan for everybody. One thing I did want to mention in the back of this brochure, and everybody will be receiving a packet, is the 1-800-MD. How many people have had, we can look at it, sinus infection, allergies, cold, flu, upset stomach, and you just don't want to go to the doctor? Anybody just, I don't particularly like going to the doctor. The 1-800-MD allows you to pick up the phone and call a doctor. You can send an email. You can even do a face-to-face video for a $10 copay. We think this is going to be very beneficial for those minor aches and pains and colds to get a medication. You can't get a controlled substance or anything like that, but you can simply get an antibiotic. It'll tell you when you get your packet what to do. You will have to fill out a brief health questionnaire to let them know what medications you're taking, things like that. But it should be a pretty simple and easy benefit to use this next year. So when you get that, if you have questions, let Georgia know. She'll get with us and be more than happy to answer any that you have.
What do y'all think about that? Y'all think you'll use it? I mean, I think it's a great thing. And it's cheaper, a lot less. I mean, I hate going to the doctor's office, sitting around a bunch of other sick people, number one. And you get individual care, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And you get all the prescription drugs.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you mean by controls?
You know, you can't get, you know, Lortabs and things like that.
Jay, if Mike brought up a point, let's say a driver calls in on this preventive care or the med thing.
Yep.
MD copay. And he puts him off work for 2 days. Will they do that?
No, you're not going to say. This is for. It's, you know, if you're going to be out of work, I think typically you see a doctor. You know, if you have an upset stomach, a cold, a sinus infection, minor illnesses that you have, that instead of going to a doctor, and I think if you see something more serious, they'll tell you to go to your doctor.
Okay, we're wondering about doctors' excuses. If they're out for, if they miss work, we require doctors' excuse to come back.
Okay. Well, let me just find out about that.
I was out in Louis, wouldn't even let me come back till I got one.
She did comment she didn't miss you while you was gone.
I really see the telemed, the 800 MD for people with sinus infections, things like that, that don't necessarily keep you out of work, but make you feel bad, where you can go in, they can call you in a prescription, you get that, and you start to get better versus, you know, trying to track down. Certainly, as you guys are on the road, it's much been more beneficial than not knowing where you are trying to track down a doctor. One other thing to note about the plans, we do utilize the Cigna PPO network. It's a big difference. Make sure, George and I walk through how to look up a doctor. We can look doctors up, see if they're in network. Make sure your doctor or hospital is in network. The hospital here locally is Methodist and St. Francis, so it's not Baptist. But, you know, we're more than happy to help in any way we can during this transition. Yes, sir.
What about the doctor you already going to?
We just need to look to see if he's in network. And so at the break, if you want, I can certainly get his name and where he's at, and we can look him up.
And I guess worst case is, we have, and I mean, we're a little concerned about it too. But if you could have a doctor that is not now changed, not under this network, you either find another doctor or you pay additional 20%?
Yeah, you pay the out-of-network benefits, and I don't, you know, there's no copay. You pay subject to a larger deductible. We don't encourage people going out-of-network at all.
But there's a lot of, options out there, and there's some doctors that I was concerned wouldn't be in network that are in network.
Yeah, even
though they may be or tied in with that.
That's right. I mean, this is a large national, Cigna's a large national network. It was going to be the best network for all the employees. Obviously, when you make a change, there can be some doctors that are out of network, but there may be some doctors that are in network that weren't in the Blue Cross network.
Now, if the doctor's out of network, is it possible to have them sign up to be in network?
We can certainly see, but it's up to the doctor at their discretion if they're not in the network. Georgia, do you have anything else to add?
Hey, one more slide.
And then you can see here the weekly deductions. We'll leave those up just for a second, so if you have any questions about them, we did try to have that option one. lower cost plan, and then option 2 and option 3 as the more expensive plans as they come.
And our strategy was, I mean, really look at each plan, and quite frankly, if you're in pretty good health and you really don't think it's imminent, you're gonna have serious illness, the $20 option is great. I mean, you've got your cab, you just have a big deductible. You've got a couple doctor visits that you can go on.
You can get prescription drugs for $10. You still have your 1-800-MD that you can call.
And I'm really, quite frankly, surprised that more didn't go to that plan. That makes me nervous. Everybody, y'all think we're going to get sick this year, huh? But no, I mean, anyway, it's an individual choice. And then the robust plan, Plan C?
Yeah, Plan 3.
Plan 3, or option 3, you know, that has a lower deductible and it's got unlimited copay. So, I mean, it's there, but you're paying for it.
That's right.
And so you just got to see how much more you're paying for that versus lower cost ones, and say, okay, where do I, be smart about it. And then the middle one is kind of right in the middle. You can compare that. So I hope y'all are really looking at what's best for your family. I hate to see people overpay or underpay, but that's real important to me anyway.
Yeah, there weren't any other changes to the dental or vision plans. So I'll be here during the break. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask or talk to Georgia throughout the week. We are accepting any type of changes through the end of this next week. Is that right, Georgia? Through the 14th.
Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day.
So after that, there will be no more changes for open enrollment, but we are accepting them for the next few days. Anything else? Tim, do you have anything?
I think we're good. I just appreciate y'all working with us on it. It's been a challenge. We know our costs have gone up, but I think we got the best folks working with us that we can manage.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jack. We're about 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Let's go ahead and take a break. Be back in here at 10:25.
Silly girls. We're gonna do this.
Yeah, we're gonna give away some money.
Oh, that's all.
Hey, Gene.
Gene. There are people here today, but there's better opportunities. All right.
It's in your wallet.
We're gonna get two $50, two different $50 bills. 77. Number 51. Hey!
There's no whining from you for a week, Gene.
Do what now?
I don't hear whining from you for a week.
Why? I get this big old wine.
I got these things started early. Eli Manning, number 10.
Thank you.
You just leave that right there.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about safety for a little bit. I'm going to update, we talked about this last year, the medical certificates, the tanker endorsements, the cell phones, and the e-logs. The medical certificate and your CDL. Louise got with every one of the drivers, and we've got everybody certified, don't we? Yeah. We've got your medical certificate and your self-certification letter sent in to your DMV. Anytime you renew your physical, you have to do this. Now the plan was January of this year, you wouldn't have to carry your medical certificate anymore. But they've changed that. You still have to carry your medical certificate in your wallet or on your person till January of next year. But don't get it confused. You still have to do your self-certification and your certificate. You have to send it in to your DMV every time you renew your physical. Any questions on that? Cell phones. Cell phones have to be hands-free. You can use one button to make a call or receive a call. You can't reach for it. Tennessee has got unmarked SUVs out there watching for you using cell phones, texting. Texting, if you text and get caught, you just about ruined your career forever. Because I don't know if anybody's going to hire you after that.
Dump truck. Dump truck.
Dump truck. New York, they've got SUVs out there looking at you. Tennessee, has anybody seen the tractor trailer that the state troopers have out on the road? I told one of the troopers to drive it, and he was listening to the CB, and the driver said, "Hey, y'all, there's a tractor trailer, looks just like a state trooper car, got lights and everything." He said, and got pulled over. Trooper asked him, said, "What gave it away?" Got the lights flashing and everything, but they're out there. Tanker endorsement, we've talked about this. If you've got one of these, can't think of the name of it, totes that we haul, and it's 119.9 gallons or 119 gallons or more, and the weight of the total load is 1,000 pounds or more, you got to have a tanker endorsement. This goes into effect July of this year, July of 2014. So if you haven't got your tanker endorsement, you need to go ahead and get it. This is just like your hazmat. If you don't have this, there's going to be loads you can't haul. So, like we talked about earlier, do everything you can on your IRS, your endorsements, everything to make sure you're available for any load we got. It'll help you, helps us. Helps Diane playing loads, helps everybody. Puts more money in your pocket. Any questions on that? Terry?
Is that hazmat and non-haz?
Yes. Yeah, anything. Yeah, anything.
In a tote.
Anything in a tote, yes. Hours of service. We talked about e-logs. We've been on them for over a year now. If your Rand McNally malfunctions or your Qualcomm unit, we've got 10 Qualcomm units, if they malfunction and you go on paper logs, please don't ever go on paper logs unless you let me or Louise know that you're doing it. Don't just say my unit's not working and we don't know about it and you go on paper logs. That won't work. We gotta know. But you still must take your 30-minute break. Show it off duty on your paper logs. Right down there, break, 30 minutes, where you are. Just like you do on your electronic log. We're getting hammered, folks. We've got to do this. If you have any questions about your logs, call me or Louise. I know when you call me in the middle of the night, I should sound like I've been sitting up waiting on your call. Sometimes I don't. Especially about that 6th or 7th call during the night. But if you need help, you call me, please. I would rather you call me and get me up than get caught out there doing something. Let us help you. Our job here is to support you. Now your job is after I support you 5 or 6 times that night to get it done right. The safety process. What is the safety process? We are having our worst year ever as far as accidents. Now, we count getting stuck, bent rims, anything as an accident, but this is, we're getting hammered, like I said, this is terrible, and we've got to stop it. So what is the safety process? The safety process is doing everything possible that I can do to relate to you and you can do to prevent an accident. It costs you money, it costs the company money. When you have an accident, you're down. You're not, when both wheels aren't rolling, you're not getting paid, basically. The 5 keys, the Smith system. Everybody in this room, dispatch everybody else. If you went through orientation in the last 15 years, you've watched the Smith system. Now, watching it's one thing. Watching it and applying it is another thing. Some of us aren't applying it. We got to start doing this. If you go by the Smith system, you will not have a preventable accident. It's virtually impossible if you will do the 5 keys. Aim high and steering. What does this mean? Can anybody tell me? King?
Use all your room in a curve when you're going around a ramp or even in a parking lot.
Look out ahead. Know what's out there ahead of you, right. 15 seconds, look out 15 seconds ahead. If you will do that, you won't be running up on it.
Get excited.
You won't be running up on somebody and having an accident. You'll know what's out there ahead of you. Any questions on why we do this? To avoid an accident, that's why. Get the big picture. Again, look out there. Look what's beside you. Look what's behind you. I've preached this for years. If you're running down that middle lane and you got a white car over here and a blue car over here, and you see them in their mirror, in your mirrors, and they don't pass you, they're still there somewhere. If you don't see them behind you and they didn't get off, they're in that blind spot. Watch your lane changes. That is not hard to do.
Just stay your butt in the right lane.
Huh?
Don't be like Chicago, stay in the right lane to the middle.
Well, you can't always stay in the right lane.
Well, it's much fun.
Keep your eyes moving. Scan your mirrors every 5 seconds. But just keep. Don't do this. Watch what's going on around you. Leave yourself an out. How many saw wrecks this morning coming in? Everybody, yeah. Thankfully, we weren't in any of them. So we're doing something right.
Y'all ducked in front of people here.
Don't run in packs. If you run in packs, you're 99% chance of having an accident. You're the professional. You know what you're doing. All those people around you don't. One time going home, it was back in the fall, they were doing construction on the highway in Hernando. Traffic backed up. We're stopped, and I look in my mirror, and here comes this lady in this huge SUV, and she's talking on the phone, and all of a sudden she looks up, and she's scared to death, and I am too. She hits those brakes, and she swerves over, and when she gets stopped, she's right there by my driver's door. She rolled down her window and said, "I'm sorry," and I said, "Ma'am, I am too." But she barely missed me. These cell phones will kill you, folks. But leave yourself an out. Don't run in packs. Make sure they see you. What's this mean? Tommy?
Drive with your headlights on, and just make sure that when you change the lane,
Yeah.
turn that signal.
Use your turn signals. Use your, like Tommy said, run with your headlights on. make sure they know you're there. You know what you're gonna do, they don't know what you're gonna do, so use your turn signals. If you see somebody acting crazy, don't lay down on that air horn, just tap your city horn. Let them know you're there. Don't flash your lights, that just makes them mad.
Eye contact.
Eye contact, exactly.
Another thing I see people do, when it's raining, I know the headlights don't help you to see, but it helps you to be seen.
All right.
You turn your headlights on. Cause you go to change the lane, and that water is going up. That person without the headlights on, they might be right outside of you, and you don't get in that blind spot.
You know, my car, headlights come on automatically. Well, I mean, most cars do nowadays. Doesn't these trucks don't do it?
Yeah.
Do it?
Yeah, you can get just like this car.
That's great.
You.
Yeah. That'll help a lot.
And on a 2-lane road, turn them on.
Yep.
Cause some people, they pull out there in front of you.
Y'all, I promise you, if you follow these 5 keys, you will not have a preventable accident. This was developed years ago, basically for the military. And it works so well, they started selling it to the trucking companies and it fleets with cars. And I was at a ATA convention, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, maybe almost 20 years ago, and I saw it at one of the booths, and we bought it, and we've been using it ever since. We just don't use it to the fullest capacity, like we should. Louise shows it in orientation, goes over it every orientation class, and sometimes I think that's as far as it goes. It never gets out the door. So keep it in mind and please use it. Avoid backing whenever possible, but when it's unavoidable, check the backing area first. I think I looked in, last year, we had 38 backing accidents. You know, talk about getting stuck, we got stuck 25 times. And so on and so on. And these things, they just add up. And everybody knows what CSA is, the 7 basics, we've talked about it. Well, crashes, or accidents, crashes, what you call it, that's one of them. And ours is easing up there. We cannot be in violation with the customers we deal with, the DuPonts and the Bayers and all these chemical companies, the Limiteds, the Gaps. They're wanting carriers that are top notch, and we are top notch, and we're going to stay that way. That's the reason we've got these customers. But they frown on when they see us getting towards an alert status on a basic. So check the backing area. I don't care if you have to get out a dozen times. I'd rather you get out than back over a brand new Cadillac. When I was driving, Jerry Stairs, he was Director of Safety at MS Carriers, and we was talking one day and he said, Richard, they quit making everything but Corvettes and Mercedes, didn't they? And I said, what are you talking about, Jerry? He said, that's all we ever run over. Back slowly and carefully. You're not in a hurry. You're already there. I always say, if you're in that big a hurry, you should have left earlier. So be careful, especially at FedEx. You know how they run around on these tugs pulling these? Those folks don't watch. You've got to watch them. Remain aware of the blind area. Never, ever blindside back if you can avoid it at all. You're just asking for an accident. Always do the left side if possible. Look front, sides, and rears of your back. If you've got somebody helping you back, if they don't know what they're doing, they'll back you right over something. So don't depend on them totally. You still get out and look. On 47th Avenue in New York City, I used to deliver there a lot, and they had this guy. You had to back into this building. It was dark back here, and this place is busy as a bee. Trucks everywhere. And this guy, he made a living doing this. You can pay him $2, he'd back you in there first try, if you would watch what he did. Never had any problem. But he knew exactly what to do. And if you trusted him, you'd get in there without a scratch. If you didn't pay him $2, you're going to be a pain. Back no further than you must. Even in a car, don't back any further than you have to. Because the further you back, the more you back, the more you're looking for an accident. The Smith system, the 5 keys provides space for the vehicle. If you'll obey all those 5 keys, you'll always have space. Visibility for the driver. Look out 15 seconds ahead. Keep 8 seconds between you and the vehicles in front of you. There's a video Louis shows in orientation, and it's this driver. He goes into the safety guy, and the guy says, "He's got a complaint on you." He cut this car off or whatever. And he said, "How far do you stay back?" And he said, "Well, 4 seconds is what they tell me, but you can't do that." This is an old video. It's 8 seconds now. He said, "But you can't always do that." He said, "Well, why not?" "Well, I'd lose too much time." And it goes through the scenario. How did you do this time, this time? And as they get to the end of the day, he hadn't lost but 30 seconds. And if you look at the math and look at the video, it's true. You think you're losing a lot of time, but you're not. You're losing more time and you're under a lot more stress trying to get that guy from cutting in front of you. You're not out there to do a battle. You're out there to deliver the freight safely and on time. Delivering safely on time. That's our motto. That's our registered trademark. That's what we're all about. And we must do that. Time to make decisions. How many decisions do you make every mile you drive? 160. True. 160 decisions for every mile you drive. That's a lot of decisions during the day, isn't it? So you've got to have the time to make them. And if you're on somebody's tail, you don't have time. It's kind of like back when we drove Freightliners. If you have an accident, you're the first one there. Well, if you're tailgating, you're the first one there, and you're going to be at fault. Everyone at Empire Express is involved in the safety process. Everyone, from Tim Gatlin, Kevin, Tanya, Travis, recruiting, Teresa, me and Louis, everyone, fleet managers. It's everyone's responsibility that works at Empire Express to make sure we're the safest company out there. And it's easy to do if we just do our part. If you're a driver, and I think Diana brought it up earlier, if you don't have the hours to do that load, you tell us. She can look on the screen and see. You can look on your screen, on your Rand McNally or Qualcomm, and see how many hours you got left. Don't tell us you got the hours if you don't. Because I know I keep going back 25, 30 years ago when I was driving. If the DOT pulls you over, they'd say, "Well, shows here you were at Mineral Wells, Texas. Let me get the map out to see." They're not going to do that. But now they don't have to look at a map. This technology, I tell Evan every day, I hate computers. This technology will nail you in a heartbeat. They look at that laptop, they look at the onboard recruiting device, they know exactly where you've been, how long you were there, where you're going, and when you're going to get there. The day of the cowboy is over. Everybody agree with that? Now, if you're not safe,
No.
huh? You don't agree with that?
On the long range, the long range has got to be open for the frontier again one day.
Now, what did you say, Keith?
No, I just burped, I'm sorry.
Okay. I thought I understood you. Delivering safely on time, folks. That's what it's all about. The goal is zero. You see it posted all over our terminals. This means we will relentlessly strive to achieve zero work-related injuries and illnesses, zero environmental incidents, zero preventable accidents and incidents, zero violations. This is critical. All of it's critical. But these violations have got to stop. The goal of zero commitment is an instrumental part of our safety culture. Everyone throughout Empire Express must be 100% committed to this goal in order for us to protect ourselves, our customers, our environment, and the motoring public. I'll come over 10.
Saturday.
What'd you say, Dean?
It's Saturday.
Oh. Any questions? Everybody know what to do? Everybody gonna do it? Yeah, you're gonna do it.
Have a disconnect button in the car.
Speak up.
Oh, is it a reset button or a disconnect button in the new Grand McNally thing? When you reset, is that like a reboot switch that's going to be in the new truck? You know what I'm talking about?
When you wake up in the morning, the little white dots bouncing all over.
Yeah.
To answer your question, it's not gonna reset anything. Your hours are there. The guys that are logging off and trying to drive, your hours are still there. You're not hiding anything. You're just making me mad. Next up, Teresa, recruiting, Mike.
Hey, we got to do this safely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here she comes.
She's like a mama, she's slow. Yeah.
Didn't know what?
Y'all know Teresa and Gerald, they're our recruiting department. And one thing I like about them, they will not overpromise to a driver. I've heard them tell drivers a lot of times, no, Empire's not for you if you need to be home, whatever it is that the folks are asking, or if they ask some ridiculous number of miles a week that they have to have. We can't do it, no other driver, no other company can't either. So they tell them, and we appreciate that. I have never had a driver come to me and say, let me tell you what they told me when they recruited me, or what they told me in orientation, and it's not happened. Haven't had that happen. They under-promise and over-deliver, and that's what we need to do, and we appreciate it. And as Don said, we've got to have your help. I wouldn't think about going to work or drive somewhere without talking to one of their drivers first. So we need y'all's help, and Don and Jared are going to show you about our recruiting.
I'm Teresa, not Diane.
Excuse me, Teresa.
I get called that one.
Excuse me,
But
Teresa.
as Don said earlier, we're in a driver shortage and we need your help. When you're out there talking to drivers, you're our best advertisement. So we've come up with, we need more drivers just like you. We've come up with a short informational video about working for Empire. Our website's now mobile. Any driver can go to the EmpireExpress.com from their mobile phone and they can see this video. So when you're out there talking to them, direct them, tell them that they can go to the mobile website, empireexpress.com, and get more information about us. Evan's done a great job with our website. There's testimonials there. There's a lot of good information. So start sending them that direction. They can apply there. They can get our 800 number and call us. We want to talk to them. But anyway, here's the video. This is for you guys.
For almost 3 decades, family-owned Empire Express has had a unique vision. We understand that trucking isn't just a job, but a lifestyle choice. Long hours, burdensome regulations, bad weather, being away from home. We can't change these factors, but we have changed how much our employees are valued, appreciated, and paid for a job well done. Our drivers experience the difference when they go to lunch with our ownership during their paid orientation. We know names, not truck numbers. We know families. We know hobbies. We're more than employer and employee. We're friends. No glass wall in our office. We encourage our drivers to sit with our planners, dispatchers, and customer service people so they understand their company's operations. And they're always treated like family. They drive a safe, well-maintained late model truck, so their PSP score is protected, with 78% of our freight drop and hook. That's 100% no touch. Our drivers receive competitive pay with regular performance reviews. It's the fastest way to top pay. Paid short-term disability, a full benefits package, paid vacation, and guaranteed home time at Christmas. Interested in finding out more about a company that walks the talk? Then let's have that conversation. It might be the best call you'll ever make, and you can take that to the bank.
Oh, Jane, what?
I had a statement that me and a friend, we talk regularly. He runs Omaha to Chicago all the time, the worst weather and all that. He said all he ever wanted to do was be a truck driver. But I told one of the new guys the other day in the lounge, I said, don't come here just because your job quit or your plant closes down. Come here because you want to do this for a living. So I think that's the best way to be. What's that?
Sure you don't want to be a trainer?
No, I ain't gonna even do no road test like that.
Thank God. This is the 22nd year I've facilitated these meetings. Been a long time. And this will be the 22nd year I've introduced Tim Gatlin. In his 22 years, I've been offered a lot of jobs with different companies as safety director, vice president of safety, and I've never considered any of them because I'm happy where I was. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And I'm happy because Tim's always been honest with me, and he cares about us as well as what's best for Empire and what's best for us. And you don't find that everywhere. A lot of companies, all they care about is the bottom line. So, Tim?
You want to start out and get a little more money away? Sure. Make sure y'all are awake. All right, why don't we do 1, 100, and 150? So y'all really be awake. $79. Woohoo!
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just make sure I can work that one. And now which one's this? This is the 50. Come on. 67.
Well, they take care of the money and lose out.
All right, we'll do one more 20. Is this working yet?
Probably don't even take it in Mississippi.
Number 40. All right. Good morning.
Morning.
I hope everybody's doing well. I really appreciate y'all being here today. This weather was interesting, and I'm really pleased with the turnout. We were expecting a big turnout, but that weather got us, and I think we probably only have about 10 folks that were scheduled to be here that didn't make it, my dad being one of them. But we'll talk about that one later. But anyway, it is great to see all of you here, and quite frankly, I'm very happy to be here myself, because Richard was a little misspoke a minute ago, because last year, for those that were at the meeting, I had to miss this meeting. I found out I had the flu. I've been feeling bad all week. Found out I had the flu the day before this meeting. And my dad graciously volunteered to do the speech really at the last second. And he said, well, you got it ready? Can you shoot it over to me? I said, well, I've got it in outline form. He said, what's outline form? I said, well, it's not going to help you much. He said, can you type it up? So I spent the next 3 hours typing it up word for word, emailed it to him, and then I spent the next 3 hours listening to his questions, trying to answer questions. And so after the meeting, I went back like I always do and watched the tape of the whole meeting. And when I got to my dad's part, I think he did a really good job under the circumstances. He basically, there's no way he could really memorize or get the intent of everything. He read through a lot, took a couple of things out of context, but he did a great job. But one thing I realized, it was real long. It was real long. And I should have known that when I gave him a book of a word for word. But, I've been called long-winded a few times over the years. But when I went back and watched my speeches, they never looked long when I was doing it. But when somebody else did my speech, it was long. So, and the speech I did the year before was longer than my dad's last year. So, I think I've got the hint now. I'm going to try to be very brief, stay focused, and hopefully this will be the shortest State of the Company address that I've ever done. Diana's already, she's watching the clock over there, so if she starts coughing later, just ignore her. Your brother can take it in a second.
I got till the clock.
Oh, boy. Well, on that note, moving along, I always go back, kind of review what the prior years. And looking at 2013, I will always remember it as being the year of the ELOG. And it's just no question, nothing else comes close. And as you know, we started as testing ELOG units back in early 2012. We decided on Rand McNally, second half of 2012, started putting them on, and then we got progressively started putting them on into 2012, early 13. 100% of our fleet was ELOGs by April of 2013. We knew it would have an impact, but quite honestly, we couldn't anticipate the impact that it had on us. It was tremendous. Our miles took a big immediate hit. The first quarter that we ran 100% of our fleet with ELOGs, which would have been the second quarter last year, our miles were down 215 miles per week per driver. That's 9% hit. We'd never seen anything like that. Our driver turnover, major spike. This is what we were talking about a minute ago, Gene. But we had a lot of long-term senior drivers that just didn't want to give ELOGs a chance. And they left. We fortunately have a lot of them have come back. But we lost a lot of drivers that first couple months. The miles only added to that. We actually hit a really low point toward the end of July, early August. Our annualized turnover on a 13-week trailing period, something we really watch closely. Because, our annualized turnover can be one thing, but when you want to catch these trends, for a 13-week period, our turnover jumped up to 125.8%. That was the first week of August when we pulled that up. So that was by far the worst shape we've ever been in, and we had 26 empty trucks at that time as well. That was another record, that kind of records we don't want to make. We started having some service issues. A lot of that, especially with our our time-sensitive shippers, it was just a huge adjustment on operations, on dispatch, on our drivers, and it was tough. And so we started having more service failures than we were accustomed to. And Richard's touched on this a little bit. We had more safety issues, fender benders, as I like to call them. I actually wrote a little newsletter on that. And so things weren't going good. It was, I think Diane said, in those challenging years she can remember. Well, I can tell you, it was the most challenging year that I personally went through in the trucking industry. Probably since that very first year. I can't forget that. But anyway, I was talking to my best friend that just so happens to be in the trucking industry. Their family has been in the business for 60 years. Got a great company, and they've got about 500 drivers. And I had known they had gone through e-logs, and I was just complaining and just say, man, just tell them about all our problems. He said, well, I know what you're going through. We went through the same thing last year, and we called it e-log hell. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but quite frankly, it did feel like hell. And, it was a rough time. We bottomed out in that August 2013. Mike Reeves, we discuss it all the time. He said, man, we're an inverted bell curve. We're right here. We ain't hit bottom yet, but we're getting there. And then we're hitting bottom now. We're going to start doing better. And it's hard sometimes to believe, but by gosh, he was right, because we did hit rock bottom, and like he predicted, and we started doing better. Not coincidentally, that was the same month that we finally got our Rand McNally e-logs. I'm sorry, we got our Manhattan Associates optimization program up and running. Fortunately, Mike Reeves, big kudos for Mike on this one. We started testing and putting on e-logs. He said, man, we need to look at this optimization program. I said, no, we just spent all this money on these e-logs. You want to go out and spend all this money on this optimization program? But we looked at it, and then he convinced me we need to do it. So we made the decision early in 2013 to buy the Manhattan optimization program, which the timing was going to be perfect as these e-logs came on. Problem is, we had to upgrade our existing McLeod operating system. The McLeod software touches everything. It's our dispatch, customer service, billing, payroll, safety, claims, everything. So that was a tremendous upgrade. And we were at the mercy of McLeod to get that done. And we put a lot of heat on. We were the second carrier to get that upgrade, and that was June of last year. So then we can install Manhattan. Then, as Diana mentioned, we train and more trained. A lot of long hours. And finally got Manhattan up running 1st of August. And our hours, let me get to where I am here. Our miles started improving. That first quarter, which was actually the third quarter, but the second quarter only lost, our miles were only down 188. It's not a huge improvement, but versus the 215 for that first quarter. So we were making headway. But in the fourth quarter, our miles were down 127 miles per week per driver. And in the first 5 weeks of this year, our miles are actually 9 miles per driver per week higher than they were the same 5 weeks last year. Now last year we had about 50% of our units had e-logs. So, to me it's a testament, especially when you consider the weather we've been in, which is so much worse this year than last year. But we are making major strides. And we believe, we were at 11 our miles were down 9% at its worst. We think we're down around 4 and 5% right now. We're doing everything in our power to get it down back to where we were. And that's going to be a challenge, but more on that in a minute. Our driver turnover stabilized. actually got in the fourth quarter last year, our turnover on that 13-week trailing average was 53.7%, back down to where we are accustomed to. We generally range between 40 and 60% over the last several years. And we like to be in the 40 or lower range. But the 40 to 60% is well above industry average, and it just made a huge impact on the stability of everything, getting that turnover going back down. We did see some reductions in our fender benders for a couple months in the October, November range, but unfortunately we've had a couple of uncustomary DOT reportables the last few weeks. And so anyway, overall, it really was a poor year safety-wise, and we're going to change that without question. I am happy to say our service dramatically improved. We had some tough conversations with some customers. We'd go in and I'd be scared to death to sit down like they're just going to rake us over the coals. We were their #1 service provider year after year, and now we're middle of the pack, or even below average. But every one of them understood what we were going through, and we explained to them our issues, and we guaranteed them we would get our service back up. And we did, and I cannot tell you how critically important that was. But I can't tell you how critically important it is that we continue to do that. But, because that's what the arena we're in. And so anyway, that was very, very encouraging. Another dramatic event that occurred was the first week of December. We finally pulled up our CSA profile, which y'all can go to and pull this up, and you can see that we have no alerts. We got out of our hours of service alert status. You may have heard a little celebration. If you're in California, you probably heard our celebration at the terminal. But that is, if you can read that, the second one down is hours of service. It shows 57.5%. That means 57.4% of our peer group has better violation frequency and severity. So that's not a great number, but from where we've come from and the pain we've gone through to get there, we're proud of it. And that number should continue to really, really, really drop now that we've got e-logs going and doing pretty well in those. But anyway, we don't have any alerts on that far right column. Alerts are these gold, ugly triangles that you don't want to see. Now we look at our most recent week. This was that week on November 23rd, and then the brand new numbers just came out through January 24th. I think those came in last week or the week before?
Last week.
Last week. So just starting at the top, unsafe driving stayed pretty flat. We're at 23%. Big culprit here is speed. Let me get to my notes here. Speeding, obeying traffic control devices, and lane restrictions. Those are our top 3 unsafe violations that we're getting in that basin. You know, we made speeding a double whammy. If you get a speeding ticket, it counts twice. Well, we still, with that, putting that in place, our speeding scores and the overall violation impact on our scoreboard is lower because we cut speeding way down. So that was huge. But just keep helping us there. I mean, obey the traffic control. Don't run stop signs. You know, all that kind of stuff. Run yellow lights. We got one call for that. And the lane restrictions are a big deal. Hours of service. We've come down from 57.5 to 57.1. We still having a few crop up every once in a while. We were going months without any. In the last couple months, we've had a few hours of service violations. Richard, you may want to touch on really what's driving that, or the kind that we're having, but
the hours of service violations we're having are, like I talked about, the 30-minute break. We're
getting caught on that. We're getting caught on a few on the log. We got one where you were showing off duty when you should have been in the sleeper. They will get you for that. Regulations say you have to spend at least 8 hours in the sleeper. And they'll check you, and if you're off duty, you're not in the sleeper. They'll write us up for that. The things that, being on duty, when you're on your break, you gotta be off duty to take your break.
The on duty for unloading too, they're on.
Yes, we got written up for, you're at the consignee or the shipper, you're loading or unloading, and you're showing off duty, you've got to show on duty during that unloading or loading time.
See, what I think, they're starting to get tougher on the ones with ELOs.
They are.
Because they're not writing as many violations. So we've got to be better. And, but there'll be more training on that, but just don't try to beat the system, and just be very careful to make sure your unit's working properly. If it doesn't work, you have to go to paper logs, like Richard said, call Richard, and then make sure you fill them out. We just got hammered because the driver on his 30-minute break put it on the on-duty line instead of the off-duty line. We're fighting that one. Hopefully we can get it appealed, because we verified where he took his breaks. And that could be, if they all four come through, we might be back up alert status. But anyway, it's serious business. And
like Tim said, you can't fix the system on these ELOs. Just do what you're supposed to do, and you'll never have any problem.
driver fitness, we actually dipped down from 71.8 to 63.3. Both times we had 5 violations. The older they get, the less weight-wise they get, so that's why it was able to drop even though we had the same violations. 4 of those were for operating on a suspended license. Your lifeblood is your license. If there's a problem, if you pay, make sure your tickets are paid. If you think there's a problem, let us know. But it's serious business to be getting written up for a suspended license. One of them is driving without a medical card. We used to have some problems. We pretty much got that straightened out. I know there are going to be changes coming down the pipe, but right now we still have to have their medical card with you, and that's very important. Controlled substances, don't even need to talk about it. We've been in 0. We don't need any controlled substances, alcohol, drugs, and thank goodness we hadn't had it. Vehicle maintenance is a big strength of ours. I got to give Nelson and his crew a lot of credit for this. I don't think a lot of y'all realize how fortunate we are that we've had a very, very stable maintenance department for the last 20 years. Nelson has headed it up, and most of the folks in his office have been here many, many years. And, we buy nice equipment. But we also need, y'all have a huge impact on doing your pre-trips, making sure we don't have flat tires, lights, all that kind of stuff. That team effort will get that number down. I want to see it, my goal is this year to get it below 20, get it in the teens, and I think we can do that. Hazardous material compliance. This is a really big deal. We haul hazmat. We have a lot of big hazmat shippers. They don't want to see that score up. They don't want to see us in alert. And we just can't afford to get in alert. And the big issue that we are having are placards. And we're having placards. Did you bring that? It's under there. We're having placards blowing off. We're having placards not being put in the placard holder correctly. Not it's flipped upside down. We're having placards that are getting wet and muddy and worn or whatever that you can't hardly read it, or they'll crumple in the placard holder. And we're just getting tickets after tickets. We've gotten 2 in the last 2 weeks. And we just got another one on some billing, the paperwork. Hopefully we can get that one overturned. But we're going to start a new product. Have many of y'all, our new policy, Have y'all been assigned many of these placard holders? See, I thought every driver in our fleet had been assigned.
Who else got them?
I ain't got them. The problem, a lot of them are doing, they're putting rocks right in where, and they're bowing out those brackets, and then when you put those in, they don't, that's the only way I can see them really solidified. And I've never had a problem when I use those.
Well, perfect segue. Thank you for doing that. But every driver is going to be assigned 4 of these. It's going to be like your straps, and they stay with you.
Yeah, you need 8, Tim. You need.
Why you need 8?
Because sometimes you have more than one placard. Sometimes you have as much as 3. But you only have
Every driver is going to be assigned 8. And that's when you order some more. But you keep those 8. And when you have, if you're loaded on the load of hazmat and it requires a placard, make sure it's the correct placard, make sure it's put in, slide this in, and then put the placard behind it, and it will not blow out. And that will eliminate those placard violations. And if you drop that trailer, go take it out. Keep up with your placards, your holders, and our covers. The next driver comes in, if you see placards on it and you're picking it up, put them back in, but yours. If we try to swap them around, we'll never be able to manage it. So everybody understand you're going to be keeping yours. Now we announced 2 of them last year, we're going to announce 1 more, because the last 2 worked so well. If we get a placard violation because it blew out or crumpled or whatever, and one of these wasn't used, that violation is going to count double. Because we just cannot afford to go in alert status in hazmat, and we're headed that direction. And there really is just if you do it, you'll never be at risk for that. So we're not going to do it until everybody's got theirs. But when they're all assigned, that policy is going into effect. And so anybody got any questions on that?
I got one.
All right.
What about these trailers that come in the safe lane, it's an empty trailer, and they got the placards turned backwards in the hole?
Need to quit doing that. Everybody, come on,
No, take them off of Laredo.
huh? If you pick it up in Laredo, that placard's turned around backward, take it out. It doesn't take that much effort. We do not want placards turned around backwards.
That's a good deal.
What?
Yeah, I know we should do it. All right, take them out.
Take them out. I don't care who puts it in there, take them out. Please. I've sent out messages on it, I've talked about it, and it needs to cease happening.
That's a violation to have it in there.
Yeah, they give you a ticket for that.
They give you a big ticket.
They steal the rubbers out the glad hand down there, why don't they steal the placards?
That's right. Those rubber grommets out of Glad and I've been staying with those ever since they were truck.
Best thing you do is steal them before they do.
That's what security guard told me. He said, take them out before you,
And
he
then
said,
put 'em
come
in
in
the
without
trailer.
it, and put your own back in.
If you see a placard turn around backwards, you take it out.
I mean, we literally can eliminate placard violations if everybody follows it, and we're probably going to add it to our safety lane where we're going to be checking to make sure y'all have your placard holders. But we've got to do it, or the placard covers, per se. But anyway, crash indicator, and these bottom 2 basics, hazmat and crash indicator, they're not open to the public to be able to have access. They have some still questionable things that are being challenged and some flaws, but a lot of our customers are asking for them. So we have to send that to them, even there are flaws. But like the crash indicator, if it's a non-preventable, we still get dinged. You could be sitting at a red light and somebody run into you and they get hurt or have to tow their vehicle out, it's going to go under our profile. So that's a problem. But right now, as you can see, we went from 31.3 to 60.4 in 2 months. And the reason that happened is we had 3 crashes, DLT reported. 1 of them was totally not our fault. 2 of them, they're still in question. and quite frankly, there's a little litigation going, so I'm probably not gonna say too much on it. But that's how fine a line we're drawing. Going from 15 to 18, we about doubled, and we went from looking at one of the industry's best to now in alert status. We gotta get that out. We can't stay in alert status. But anyway, we've got more coming on that. But anybody got any questions on this before we move on?
Tim, can I say one thing before I forget? Sure. When you come into the yard, take your trailer through the safety lane. Don't drop it out there for some other driver to pick it up and have a problem. You wouldn't want them dropping it for you to have a problem, so go through that safety lane. Always, if the shop's open, you take it through the safety lane, no exception. Please.
Couple other highlights I think deserve mentioning for 2013. We purchased 65 PACCAR tractors and $9 million worth of trucks, which was a new record investment for us in a calendar year. And that was a big deal, especially coming on top of the large investment in E-Logs, upgrade in Manhattan, or in McLeod, and then the new Manhattan optimizations program. So we invested really heavily last year. And quite frankly, I had a few sleepless nights while things were going so bad during the middle of the year. Man, should we really be doing this right now? But I had supreme confidence, and we did. And we knew with our team, we were going to come through it well. But that was a big thing. And the last 30 that we purchased were the new Peterbilt 579s that Nelson mentioned earlier. Any of y'all driving those? How do you like it, Dave?
It's a nice truck, very nice.
Drives quiet?
Yes, sir.
Got a little more room?
Yes, sir.
Any problems with it? Have you had any maintenance issues yet?
I had to have a windshield put in, but that was due to the snow. I mean, I reckon they were slinging rocks instead of salt or something or another. And dinged the windshield, and then when the defroster turned the defroster on, it just kind of tried to spider with it. But no
Those are one-piece
no.
windshields, aren't they?
They one-piece windshield?
Yeah.
Well, every driver I've talked to that has driven one, that has one, I've heard nothing but positives. I've been in it, I haven't driven, but I've ridden in it, and it's the quietest, nicest riding truck I've been in. Nicest truck I've ever seen. I'll just go on record saying that. So we're extremely proud of those. We've got 50 more on order, as Nelson said. We'll have 10 coming in about a month, and then we'll have an additional 15 coming in, and by the end of April, we should have 25 more of those running with the 13-speed. Then we have 5 a month starting in June that will be coming for the next 5 months. And so those 50 on top of the 65 that we took this year, really going to help. We've, as you know, had a lot of problems with our older Freightliner units, breaking down, having a hard time getting them repaired on the road, downtime, maintenance costs. It's just been tough. We are very hopeful that the downtime and the maintenance costs are going to reduce dramatically with these new trucks. And hopefully our driver preference, but and we'll continue. We're back down, it looks like, on our 4-year trade cycle, and to go through the EGR stuff, we kind of go up and down, but we stretched that a little bit. But anyway, we're very proud of these trucks, and I hope y'all are too. Another kind of highlight or something that deserves mentioning is that pay increase that we gave July 1, 2 cents a mile. As a second one we did in that year. We did one in July of 2012 and now July of 13. And those two 4 cent a mile combined increases was 11.1% pay increase. Even if on our worst degradation on miles due to E-Logs, we were down 9% for that one quarter. So we really wanted to make sure our drivers were not getting hit, actually losing money due to the miles. And that's one reason we went so aggressive on the pay. Now, with our miles have improved significantly, and we're only down about 4.5%, we've got a pretty good increase, an effective increase. So it was a little bit painful, quite frankly, because when miles go down, it hurts everybody. It makes our fixed cost per mile go up, makes our profit go down, our revenue go down. And then you add pay increases on top of it, it is painful. But we felt it was the right thing to do, and I think it's starting to pay off. Last thing I want to say on 2013, for the 22nd time in the last 23 years, Empire Express operated in the black and made a profit. So I think that's a very good long-term record. Last year's profit wasn't where we needed to be. It wasn't where we had been accustomed to having, but quite frankly, the fact that we operated properly last year is a testament to the kind of company we have, the kind of people we have, what our strategies, our niches, and everything. It's just, it shows that we're doing the right thing. But I'm gonna put a bow on 2013. Quite frankly, I'm glad 2013 is behind us. But we learned a great deal, and for going through it, I know, no question, we're a much stronger company today than we were this time last year. 2014 has a we think we have a great chance to have a very strong year. I mean, first, you're reading a lot of publications. Everything I'm reading now is kind of shocking me, but more and more, the experts are saying, man, trucking is poised to really boom. You know, the pendulum swinging to the carrier side versus the shipper side. You know, all this kind of stuff. I mean, and so that's encouraging. Experts have been wrong, but regardless if they're right or wrong, and whatever happens in this economy, there's no doubt in my mind we're going to have a strong year in 2014. And I've come up with what I call 6 keys to be successful in 2014. And the first one, obviously, you knew it was going to be improved safety. That is one area that we are going to be, you've never seen what you're fixing to see from us on awareness training and just beating this over and over and over the process, following the process. And when the first time I ever heard process mentioned with safety was about 15 years ago in Wilmington, Delaware at a DuPont conference. And I'm telling you, they're as strong as it comes to safety. And it really made a lot of sense. And left there, we started our goal of 0 and all of that. But we kind of got away from this process. I mean, y'all familiar with Nick Saban, Alabama head football coach? I'm not a big fan. He beats up on my school's team way too much. But I tell you what, just listen to him. He uses the word process almost in every interview you see. It's all about the process. Giving full 100% dedication for every single play. Blah, blah, forget the play. It's the process, the process. I'm like, I'm so sick of that. But by gosh, he's the most successful college football coach in this generation. And if he can do it, I think we can. So we're going to copy old Nicky a little bit on our safety process. And so what I mean by the safety process, and I've added a few keys. I'm not going to go back to this, but what I'm trying to kind of bring what DuPont said. A safety process is you live it. It is everything you do is to follow the process. I mean, literally picture yourself as a robot, a machine. We're not robots, I'm not saying. But they're always, a good driver is like that. They're training themselves. They're always aiming high. Saved my life a couple times because I aimed way high. And quite frankly, we just had a recent accident that potentially could have been avoided if the driver would have been aiming high. And so that's critical. Get the big picture. You know, keep your eyes moving. I mean, that's so obvious, it keeps you alert too. But that, you're always doing it. It's just second nature. You're following the process. Leave yourself an out. Always know, where's my out? Make sure they see you. Now, I added 3 more. Obey speed laws and traffic control devices. Because we've got too many violations and we've had too many wrecks because of this. Of running a stop sign or going through a yellow light or speeding. And also to tie in, if the weather's bad like today, don't necessarily go to the posted speeds. Go below the posted speeds. Go a safe speed. Stay 8 seconds back. We have way too many tailgating or rear ends. And quite frankly, it's very frustrating. And my daughter had 2 rear end accidents her first year driving. So I preached this to her like you can't imagine. She hadn't had one since. But literally, it's almost been proven. Is if somebody pulls out in front of you, and if you're not going to pass them, just cut it on back a little bit and get 8 seconds back. And then, if another one does it, do the same thing. But if you're going to pass them, that's a different story. But stay back, and you will never have a rear end accident. There's no excuse for rear end accidents if you're aiming high and you're looking at the big picture and doing all this. Richard talked about the backing. I won't go over those again, but it's the Smith system. Get out, make sure there's nothing behind you. I mean, we've hit more metal posts, cars, God forbid, hitting a person. You got to get out and make sure, or have somebody tell you before you back very slow. Keep your eyes moving. Be aware of your blind spot. That's what Smith system does. But y'all understand, if you treat this as a process and it's conditioned in your body, and this is how you drive, you can eliminate preventable accidents. Do y'all believe it? I mean, we go over every accident every month. And I will venture to say, every single preventable accident that we review, if the driver were following this and it was truly a process, and they were conditioned to do this, not one of those accidents would occur. And the drivers, Richard drove 27 years without a preventable accident. Why? Because he did this. He followed the process. We had drivers had 3 accidents in the first 6 months. Why? They're not following the process. If you're not following the process and you haven't had an accident, it's coming because you've been fortunate this far. But anyway, I can't stress this enough, and I promise you, you're going to be hearing a lot of this. And just remember, follow the process. Remember what these are, and we'll eliminate accidents. Of course, the next one is improved on-time performance. I'm so excited where we are today. We made dramatic improvement. I'm so confident that our service level is getting stronger and stronger, but we've got to keep doing it. Keep working with us. Yes, Gene?
I think you keep stressing about aiming high and steering like looking down the road. I think what they were talking about, aiming high and steering, is when you're in a curve, you aim to the high side of the curve.
No.
That's what I thought they meant.
That's not what it's called.
12 seconds.
That's looking on down the road is what
High and steering, I thought, when you're steering.
And I tell you, I can't tell you how, in my personal, I was looking down the road.
Yeah, well, I know.
And I keep my eyes moving. And I can't believe I'm fixing to say this, but I have been driving now for 34 years, and I've never had an accident. I'm not going to wood. I'm probably going to have a bad one on the way out of here, but it's ingrained. Sometimes my mind will be so preoccupied, I'll be worried about something, but I'm still following the process. I'm keeping my eyes moving. I'm aiming high. I'm staying back. And that's what it is. When you get to that level, you will not have accidents. But yeah, that's what that is. And that's real important, obviously. But improve on time performance. We're there. I'm not going to spend much time, but just keep working with those appointments. well, Diana touched it, I won't even go anymore on that. Here's a new one that I've added, grow our driver force with quality driver. I know Don touched on this, and all I'm gonna say to this is we need your help. Y'all are by far our best recruiters. A better quality driver comes a lot of times when it's a referral. All we're asking is if you like your job, you think we're a good company, just tell your friends out on the road in truck stops. Show them your truck, show them your nice equipment. Tell them about our customer base, it's no-touch freight. Tell them about our 550 trailers with 195 trucks, how much drop and hook we do, how we focus on high-velocity freight, how we really promote family atmosphere. You know, we know everybody, and we try to have fun, and we really try to support y'all and help you be successful. And, you know, if you do that, hand them a card. They may not come tomorrow, but they may come in 2 weeks, or, you know. So anyway, and if you do that, it could help you make an extra $1,000, and it can help the company. And I could not stress what Don said enough. It will only help your miles. And I've had drivers say, why are we adding trucks when, you know, it's going to cut my miles? No, there's been some times when freight was really soft and that might could apply, but today that's not the case. We are not a well-oiled machine right now. We need 20, 25 more drivers running right now to be a well-oiled machine. And with that well-oiled machine, our miles will pick up. So that's what we need to be. And if y'all help us, we'll get there quick. And it'll lower our turnover. Drivers that are referred from another driver leave less frequently than other drivers. So we're counting on y'all. And it's not a lot of work, just when you're talking. You know, ask them about their company. And if you sense they're not real happy with us, man, you gotta check us out sometime and just tell them about us. Anyway, I'm gonna leave there, but we need your help. Improve driver miles. That's been our #1 focus for the last 2 years, and we're finally making headway in the 4th quarter of this year. But that is gonna continue to be a focus. I want to stress this. We want you to run as many miles as you humanly, possibly, safely, and legally can. I've heard drivers saying, you're cutting my miles. We're not trying to cut anybody's miles. Because the higher the miles, the higher the revenue, the lower our fixed cost per mile, and the better for everybody. Better service we can give our customers. So we never try to cut your miles back. I promise you that. If you have proof somebody's trying to cut your miles back, please come talk to me, because I'm going to be cutting that person's something else back, you know what I mean? So anyway, but anyway, we're going to continue, and we're making headway, and we're really looking good there. I just want to touch on this. Focus on our health. This is kind of a sensitive subject, but I'm telling you, this medical insurance is here to stay, and it's extremely serious. And who knows what's going to happen with this Obamacare. I personally think it's going to implode in the next year or two, because what's happening is a lot of these sicker folks that are on a plan, and their plan goes way up, they're signing up for Obamacare. Hey, you can get on Obamacare right now and find a plan that may be less than the plan we're on. So what's happening is a lot of the sicker folks are going to Obamacare. And the insurance companies are getting burned, so they're just raising their costs. But we feel like we're on a great plan. But for it to work long term, we need to have a relatively healthy employee force. So we're going to start a wellness program this year led by Jamie and Orman. And it's not going to be anything dramatic, but we're going to try to promote healthy living. And that is simply eat healthy food. Get a little exercise, do a little walking, try to break a sweat every, a few times a week. Smoking. Do what?
It's hard to find the flying jeans about.
It's true. They got a lot of Subways, don't they?
Yeah, they do. That's what
I know you don't want to
they
eat
got these
Subway every
soups.
day.
Well, yeah, but it's variety at Subway. You got a good point. They got spinach there instead of lettuce.
Just don't load up on bacon, all that nasty stuff, fried foods, pork. I mean, I've become an expert and I'm telling you, this works because I believe, no question, if I would have eaten better and I would have consistently exercised, I wouldn't have smoked occasionally, and I wouldn't let stress really get to me. The stress of work sometimes. I don't believe I'd have had to have quadruple bypass surgery 2 years ago. And so I've done a lot of research, and I'm doing everything in my power. I'm exercising, I'm eating healthy food. I eat a lot of that healthy food sometimes, but I eat that healthy food. I wouldn't smoke a cigarette again. No telling what you pay. And I hate to talk this because I'm not, it is sensitive, but I'm telling you, every doctor that I saw, first question they asked, do you smoke? I said, well, I was the king of the social smoker. I'd be out, have a beer, I might smoke a cigarette. He said, well, you used to be a good social smoker, but not anymore. If you do, you're going to be back in. But that, I understand smoking is bad. But I'll leave it there. We're going to have a wellness program coming. But if you can, and you think you can stop smoking, Richard did it. If he can do it, anybody can do it. And they got those vapor deals now. Those don't work. They don't work? No. They work for Teresa.
Yeah. They be tricking you on it.
They work for, look at Terry's got hers back there.
Yeah.
On it a year next Friday.
Yeah, I had one there.
I spent $150 on one. I had it 2 days and it didn't work.
And I'm sitting there puffing on it.
Well, anyway, we got some more coming on with that. Another big area is focusing on cost reduction. We have not done a good job the last couple of years managing our costs, attacking our costs, which we usually in the past have done. We got so wrapped up in e-logs, miles, revenue per mile, that we got away from really managing our costs. And as a team this year, we're starting to manage our costs. So much of it is impacted by you, our driver. And real quickly, where we need your help the most, safety obviously impacts costs dramatically, but fuel mileage, idle mileage. I personally, Nelson put a little dent in this. We're going to talk about that, Nelson, afterwards. But anyway, I have a goal of improving our fuel mileage to 0.5 mile per gallon in 2014. And it can be done. We've got drivers idling 70% right now. That is throwing money up the smokestack. I come in on the yard, and there'll be a truck sitting there running. I come back by an hour later, that same truck sitting there idling. And the driver's never been around. And it's like, well, there went $4 plus the wear and tear of the engine. Today's truck, you can cut it off, and it's just almost like a car. How long does it take for the truck to warm up? 5 minutes?
2 or 3 minutes.
I mean,
Depends on where you're at.
Well, this last week.
What about when it's so cold, the diesel gel up?
do what?
What about when it's so cold that the diesel gels up?
Mine froze up.
Okay, I'm getting to that in 2 seconds. But in non-extreme temperature, when you get out of your truck, if it's gonna be 5 minutes, cut it off. Go inside real quick, just cut it off. Get in the habit. When you come back out, it takes 5 minutes to warm it up. The old days wasn't like that. If the weather is 30 degrees outside, use your heater. Those heaters work. Set them on the thermostat. Don't idle. If the weather's 0, idle the truck. Obviously, we don't want you, the heaters keep you warm, but that's a little extreme, and we don't want the fuel jump. But most of the time, the temperatures are going to be between 25, 30, and 70 degrees. And my thing is, you don't need to idle the truck between that range. If it's 70 degrees, crack your window, just throw a little sheet on. Get some fresh air. That's healthy. if it's 60 degrees or 55 degrees, barely crack your window and throw a big old blanket on. Maybe have that heat turned on. I mean, that's my favorite sleeping there is, 55.
That's
I
right.
open my windows up in my house.
That's right.
But, you know, and throw a big blanket on. Don't idle the truck just when you can anyway avoid it. We have some drivers who never get above 10%. Doesn't matter what's going on. Now, that's amazing to me they do it. But we're at 40% now as a fleet. Goal next year is to hit 20. And if we do that, and we focus on the drivers that are getting poor fuel mileage, and we work with them on either something wrong with the truck or how the driver is driving it, we can drive this fuel mileage up a half mile per gallon. And so we're now just starting to pull a report weekly. It's going to list every driver, highest idle percentage, and every driver with the lowest fuel miles. And it'll also have the good drivers on there, the good performers. But we're going to be attacking the weak performers, and we're going to be patting the good performers on the back. And there's two, we got to improve in that area. And you know, all our other costs are on. You started calling? That's her warning when I get long. I was waiting on that. Well, good news, I'm about to wrap it up. Let me see where I am. We've had some questions too. But no, cost, we're gonna do it. All right, I swear, I was just fixing to say, I'm stop preaching for now. But I do want to close with a very, very big thank you. I mean it. I have more this year than ever before. So many of y'all stuck with us last year when things were tough. And it may have been easy to go on down the street when we were going through ELOGs, because it got us. And it was ELOG hell, I would think. But we persevered, we stayed the course, and we're stronger for it. And we wouldn't be that if it wasn't for y'all sticking with us and just doing such a good job. Next year, when I'm up here, God willing, I hope that I'm saying that, you know, instead of the year of the ELOG, it is the year of the tweaking, or it is the year of the refinement. But we're going to focus on tweaking and refining, and focus on those 6 keys to success, plus a lot more. But I really hope next year when I'm up here, I can say, man, we virtually eliminated our preventable accidents. Y'all followed the process, and it worked. And here's why. This is our numbers, and this is where we are today. We didn't have anybody get hurt. We didn't hurt anybody out on the road. That's what I hope I'm talking about. I'm hoping, I'm saying, man, we got the best year we've ever had in service. We won this Carrier of the Year award again for the 3rd straight year. We won this Carrier award again. Our JIT accounts, I think we hung the moon. I hope we have 25, 30 more drivers running. And we can do it, but again, we need your help. I hope our miles come up and we're back down where we're 4 today, that we're about back where we used to be. And we can get there. But it takes all of y'all trusting dispatch, being where you're saying you're going to be, picking up, delivering on time, and getting out of the house, and just not being lazy like you are up there, right? You know, the focus on the health, I hope we can just say, look, man, everybody seems to be getting healthier and no major illnesses, and this will set us up for the long term. It's not a quick fix, and then that we really chopped our costs. I mean, our fuel mileage, we did improve it a half mile per gallon, idle percentage below 20, our costs due to safety, blah, 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 and there's so many other costs, maintenance costs we can cut. So we're really going to be attacking it. And if we do that, no matter what happens to the economy, we're going to have an extremely, extremely strong year. And that's what I'm hoping for, and that's what I think we can all do, but it's going to take us all working hard, working together. But again, thank y'all so much. I appreciate you fighting on this and being here today. And if anybody doesn't have any questions, we'll get to the safety report. How much time?
54 minutes, 55 seconds.
So, if mine's long-winded, that's gonna be like they had last year. I'm glad we talked your record. Well, there were more questions. Any questions? And we were running ahead of schedule, so I think we're good.
You wanna give away some more money?
Yeah, okay, y'all want us to give away some more money? Yes.
Now, you talked about idling the truck, and I'm sure you crunched some numbers on generators or even electric generators on the trucks. The summertime, spring all the way to fall is really the worst for heat.
Yeah, I tell you what, we just, again, we look at it about every year because you see changes, but we looked at what the market has out there, like Thermo King, Rigmaster, and we just took a hard look at it. I can tell you right now, in my opinion, based on the numbers we pulled, by the time you buy the unit, by the time you maintain the unit, we don't think there's any savings there. Because, I mean, you're going to save a few dollars an hour. Well, depend if they say a gallon per hour, let's just say you save $4. But depending on the idle RPM, it packs that. We don't quite think you're burning a gallon. But anyway, long story short, we just don't think it's a return on investment because the maintenance, especially year 2, 3, and 4, are killer on those things. And, you know, we almost were going to go buy about 5 of them and test them, but we know what it does. I mean, we tested about 50 of them, and the best investment's that heater. And then if you're warm, run that air conditioner. If it's 70 degrees, crack the window and put a sheet on. But, you know, if it's 100 degrees, you don't have to do it. But that little bit of time is just, it's a big investment. I mean, you look at the cost of the unit, they burn a little fuel, and so you look at your monthly cost and your maintenance cost and compare it to your fuel savings, it ain't there. And a lot of these companies are buying them, and they're like, I hope they know what they're doing. And then I do know a few that have shut them off and just or stopped buying them.
I'm sure that you also looked at, there's one that's just, it has a separate battery box just for its electric generator.
What's the name of that one? You know?
I can't remember right offhand, but it's...
we ran about 38 electric battery powered, and we had issues. But I have heard there's a new one coming out that could, I mean, you got to have 8 hours runtime minimum, and it's got to be strong enough to when it is 95 degrees that it will cool the cabin. We hadn't seen one yet that will do that. If they do that, we'll be all over it, because that would be huge. If you find the name of it, let me know. Have you heard it works good?
Well, I drove an International with a previous company that had one, and it worked pretty well. But I didn't run it in the summertime, so I don't know how long the AC would actually work. I don't think it would.
That's when you have problems.
Yeah, I don't think it would run over 4 hours.
International, what unit are they using? They got one.
Their own brand.
Yes, their own, and I don't think it's getting good results from what I understand.
We've got 2 climate cabs, and we got the better power.
Let me add one more thing. Generators in trucks, or not generators, inverters. Would y'all like it if we had inverters?
Yes. Yes.
Separate from the engine. They would have its own battery. You could plug up stuff that wouldn't kill the engine. That would be a big thing for y'all.
Yes, sir, it would. Yes.
All right, now we're fixing to put about 10 in.
I don't think so yet.
And then we're gonna see how they work and keep going. Because we've had some drivers that have started putting them in there that light up the city of Memphis and can burn up a truck. So the plan is to put a really good inverter in that will do what you need it to do, but it will be safe and it will be under quote our specs and put them in all the trucks.
What about like a 2,000 watt or?
No, probably bigger than that.
The 1,500? 1,500 is plenty.
That'll fire on microwave.
Yeah, you can't weed eat your grass with it like we had one driver do, actually. All right, what do we got? All right, we got a 20, a 50, and a 100.
I want the 100.
All right, well, we'll save the 100 for last, and good luck. $16. All right.
It's still $20
If I hadn't said nothing, 100 might have been first.
All right, $50. So you don't want this one, Dave?
I'll take it. Free money.
I don't say I'll, if you win it, we'll do something with it.
I ain't gonna be choosing.
45. All right.
Last 100.
You didn't bring it up for everybody?
I didn't bring it up for everybody.
Last 100. I'm pulling for you. 31.
Jared.
Did you rig that, Diane? That's what I figured. Well, here is my favorite time of every year, and I hated to miss it last year. But we hand out 3 Driver of the Year awards. And the first one, oh, am I going back? Yeah. On all the different awards, you must not have chargeable accidents, no law violations, no chargeable service failures, freight claims, must be compliant with company policy and procedure, clean and well-maintained equipment, timely, accurate paperwork, must demonstrate professional. Gene, I'm sorry that knocks you out. Above average miles per gallon. We're going to get a half mile for the next year. Solo drivers, annual mileage of 110. Even with our big downtick, that's very easy to maintain or to attain. Team drivers, annual mileage 165,000. So, I don't want to click too fast here. Richard, where's Richard? Oh,
you got the nominees.
Okay, so, all right. I first want to touch real quick on Danny Dangar. Anybody in this room besides Richard know who Danny Dangar was? Nelson, Diana? How did you know? But I mean, I meant to say ever meet him.
No.
Terry definitely knew him. So about 5 or 6 of us knew him. And he came in my office and we had like 10 new trucks came in. And we made a mistake on the prior order and had these as they call toy trucks. And we bought a really nice truck, similar to how they are today, except not near as nice as today, but it was a big stand-up, conventional, I think it was international. And he came in my office and shook my hand and said, man, Tim, thank you so much for giving me this truck. This is really a nice truck. I'm so proud of it. And he was just the greatest guy in the world. Well, about 3 days later, I got a call at about 10:30 at night that he'd been killed in a really bad truck accident. And it just made me sick. And anyway, it won't go into all the details, but it really wasn't, it wasn't his fault. And it was just an unfortunate deal. But we, in fact, Terry, I think you and me and Wayne Bridges went down there. What was his name? Wayne Bridges? Yeah, Wayne. So we went to the funeral, it was right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And they had a 5-year-old daughter named Katie Dangar that I somehow got to be her babysitter for the day while they were helping her take care of a lot of other stuff. She's literally sitting in my lap driving all over their neighborhood. I know that's not safe, but we did.
It was back then.
Yeah. So anyway, we just thought we'd have the idea, let's start a little fun for Katie. We owe it to Danny to make sure she was a real bright girl, make sure she'd get to college. That day, we passed a hat, and there was about $300 got put in that hat. I couldn't believe it. And the company started putting more money in. And every year we'd have a little bit, but there was $25,000 in that hat. We presented it to them, gosh, I think it was like 2007. It was 92, I could get my money. So it would have been about 13 years later. So it was actually about 2004. And she was able to go to college and just doing wonderful. So that's something we were real proud of. But Danny was a great guy, and we'll always keep him on this Driver of the Year award. And I really like talking about it each year. Now this is a company driver, company over the road drivers. And this is the past winners. And we had old James Leonard last year, Brian Raymond. But we've had some super winners. Just looking back, Eddie Christian just retired. We got Ruby still here.
I'm going to retire pretty soon.
You can't. But anyway, some great names. So this year, we've got a lot of really good nominees, and they all fit that criteria. They're basically perfect last year, and that's basically what it boils down to. Trying to ask imperfect people to be perfect, and it's amazing that we got this many of them. But
Do the $100 for those that are here.
oh, I'm sorry. You got the money? All right. So who all's here? I don't think Michael Atkins here.
I think David is about the only one.
Ruby. Ruby, you want to come on down, Ruby?
Sure, why not? Anything for $100, Miss Ruby.
Y'all want to look at it? Well, look at the camera. See, Mike, you threw me off. Now we're going to have to spend time.
Yeah, I'm
All right,
gonna
here
have
we
a
go.
picture going like that.
You're going to hang on.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dawn is that bucket going to be?
So did you say David's the only other one?
Do what?
The bucket going to be in there?
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, David's the only one.
I'll get it.
David Collier, I think, is the only other one.
All right. David, you want to come get your honey?
Here you are, got your $100 bill after all.
Yeah, you did get that 100.
Hey, y'all scooch out from behind the thing. Miss Ruby.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I'm not going to be mean. Why don't you stop right there? I was going to make you walk all the way back up, but I do want to announce that the Danny Dangar 2013 Driver of the Year is David Carter. All right. So he gets.
Can I call Lisa?
No.
She already knows.
He gets a grand total $500.
Scooch that way a little bit. This will be I don't want to get the thing. All right, you ready? One more. All right, thank you.
Congratulations. Test. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. And I didn't have all that good effect. Okay. Now we have the Ken Tankersley, owner operator here, and I think most of y'all knew Ken, who was our head of operations for several years and passed away in 2007 or 2006. And we definitely miss him. He was a great one. But we wanted to honor him in this matter, and so, okay, well, I was going to talk about him anyway, but anyway, he was here for 14 years, and he did die in 2006, and he battled to the end. He worked as long as he could, and he certainly loved his company and everything we stood for, and he just was a big part of it. But anyway, last year Kevin Wilson won it, and we've got a good group of owner-operators. This year we only have 2 nominees, Tommy Levingston and Kevin Wilson. Who are perfect drivers for 2013. Tommy, you want to come get your $100?
Yeah.
We get a picture made?
Yeah, we'll get a picture made. There we go. Ready? All right, thank you.
Hey, Tommy. Look at that. And the 2013 Ken Tankersley Owner Operator of the Year Award is Tommy Levingston. Congratulations. Congratulations. These guys will be taking loans, or you're going to be in the banking business after this meeting, right?
Bunch of blackouts, don't
I need you to scooch that way a little bit, so that the vein's not in the way. I just don't want to get half of that in there because it kind of distracts
Okay.
from Tommy's pretty face. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Congratulations, man. You know, one more thing on Tommy. I met Tommy in 1995. He had been hauling Temic for our largest customer at the time, Bear, at another company. And all of a sudden that company had issues. Long story short, Bear wanted us to handle the Temic, but the only way we could get that business is if Tommy could come along and join our company. And I said, well, who's this Tommy guy? But if he can breathe and get in trouble, we'll probably do it. But anyway, they said this Tommy guy's best driver we've ever seen, best driver you could ever have. And I tell you what, they weren't wrong, because he just, for how many years did he haul that stuff?
1175 up until 2010, so
35 years? 35 years, you probably handled, I mean, heck, you probably handled 50,000, or heck, more than that, you probably handled close to 100,000 loads.
I don't know, but he had figured it up one day, and he said it was enough to go. I mean, how many trail loads he said to go around the moon? But,
You killed a lot of cutworms, didn't you?
but he had money for, he had shipped more than anybody else, which is our own place, but there was a guy in the plant that produced more than anybody else. And he said that I had all more than anybody else. There was a guy in Florida that put out more than me. And they got a picture. There's another bike car. I got to give a picture, make a picture and give it to him, because I got one, I got the only picture and they took her. And we'll send, give it back to him.
When the newsletter article comes out, have your beautiful face on the cover. I'm gonna send Julius a copy of it.
But, we're talking about, Cook Valley Network. Go back to that.
I appreciate it. Even though Temic went away, you still plugging on.
Yeah.
It's not quite as.
Man, this coming 2016 between
Wow.
here.
Time flies. We love you, man. He's somebody everybody needs to look up to. Tommy's had a huge impact on this company, and just we're proud of you, and we love you to death.
That's a good. That's a good place.
Thank you. That's what it's all about right there. The next one is what we call our dedicated division driver of the year. And we still got Diane and Keith up there. Keith didn't make it, but our dedicated division is not as big as it used to be, but it's starting to grow back. And but anyway, includes all our city drivers, and we've got some super prior winners. And this year we have 5 very strong nominees with Gary Carter, Jimmy Golder, John Hunter, Jerry Johnson, Jimmy Raines.
I don't think any of those are
They all working, I get it. Well, you want to call? We're going to make a phone call real quick.
John?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay. How are you? Good.
John, this Tim Gatlin. Why the heck you ain't at this meeting?
I got home with this snow, Tim. Trying to come back out on the radio. Well, I get kicked back out of it. It's kind of bad out here.
So you're using it as an excuse, right? Good answer. Good answer.
That's right. It's full of my faces, though. I'm trying to get back up.
Well, we hate that you're not here, but we did have some good news to you, but since it is an excuse you're not here, we're thinking about doing something different, but no, we better not. I tell you what, I just want you to know, in front of a packed house of fellow drivers and employees at Empire Express, that you have been awarded the Dedicated Division Driver of the Year 2013, Mr. John Hunter. Now, don't have a wreck now. You're not too excited. I don't want you to be too excited about this or anything.
I'm going to say it for my sake, so I don't read the bottom now from ear to ear, so I'm going to say it for my sake.
He is smiling, John. He is. And listen, I want to take a minute to tell you thank you so much. There's not anything that we don't ask you to do. There's not anything that you've ever not done that needed to be done. And so you make our job in the office so much easier. So thank you so much.
Okay, you have down. Thank y'all.
Now, what do you want us to do this 500? Do you want us to give it out here?
Give it to me.
We do have a rule that if you don't have to be present to be awarded, but you do have to be present to collect. So in your absence, it goes to your immediate supervisor, which is Russ or Robert. They're not here, so it goes to their immediate supervisor, and I'm present.
He wants Mr. Nelson to get some of them.
I think it's going to.
Nelson, the only one in truck.
I just suck on playing everything. I think it's going to beer kitty for his fellow
Well,
drivers.
John, thank you so much.
Don't worry, we'll have the money waiting on you when you get back, but be careful and congratulations, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, have a good.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Want to thank everyone for coming. Lunch is going to be served
Downstairs in the oak room.
Oak room?
Down the stairs.
I want to thank Louise for putting all this together. She does an excellent job every year. She celebrated her 10th anniversary here this past Wednesday.
Congratulations, Louise.
Well, I'm sorry if I got long-winded again.